Women Taking the Lead, episode 201.
Bring in support. Like you're actually helping move the economy forward by giving other people jobs, and you are going to get there so much faster. So especially from imagery and branding perspective, like don't be an island. You go out and find people and barter if you need to, because doing everything yourself will just end in burnout and tears and colors that don't match.
Hello, my name is Jody Flynn and welcome to Women Taking the Lead, where we are all about creating blasts of inspiration to help you overcome self-doubt so you can lead with confidence, integrity, and a sense of humor. Have you grabbed your copy of my best-selling book, Accomplished: How to Go From Dreaming to Doing? Head over to womentakingthelead.com/accomplished to access the secrets to achievement and success. Now, your future awaits, so let's get started. Your website tells a story about your business. At Zebra Love Web Solutions, Millie and her team are going to make sure your website tells the story you want your customers to hear. Connect with Millie at zebralovewebsolutions.com to create the impression you want to make. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Dana Malstaff, who is the founder of Boss Mom and author of Boss Mom, The Ultimate Guide to Raising a Business and Nurturing Your Family Like a Pro. Dana has channeled her success as a content and business strategist into a fast-growing community of businesswomen she has helped begin and run their businesses and families like a boss. Dana, you are probably the answer to many people's prayers listening to this episode right now. But that's just a high-level 10,000-foot overview of who you are in the world. So if you could, tell us a little bit more about you and your own humble beginnings.
Yeah. Best thing to know about me, I like to dance when nobody's watching. So if that gives you a little bit, being silly, I think, is an important part to being a successful entrepreneur, which I'm not sure everybody believes. So that's why I love having kids, because then I get an opportunity to legitimately be a kid, and nobody questions it. And I think that actually makes me a better creative entrepreneur. And so when I was growing up, we called ourselves the MacGyver family. Like my dad owned an auto body shop. My mom was a nurse at the time, but now she does more illustration and writes herself and those kinds of things. And we built things. It was like, why buy it if you could build it? We had scavenger hunts, and my brother would go to this sort of like dead zone of toys on this hill where everybody, like, the old toys went to die, and my brother would get them, and we would like scalpel and like skin graft with my mom's pantyhose onto Cabbage Patch dolls that had been like torn apart by dogs and things like that. So we were this family that was like, you can figure out ways to do anything. And I think we don't often look enough to our childhood to see how much of our childhood crafts the way our brain thinks now. And I think as a creative entrepreneur, I look back and I go, thank goodness, that I can use duct tape in 60 different ways. Like that actually allows me to make better online programming, and I see that connection and I love it. So, that's my beginnings. I come from a creative family. I always worked for small startup companies, so I love wearing multiple different hats. I was in a situation basically where they were moving management, and so a bunch of people were being pushed out of my last corporate job. I'm doing air quotes. And I basically kind of knew I was going to get pushed out, and I used it as an opportunity to say, I'm going to go out on my own, and actually like worked out a 3-month sort of departure from the business. I'm still friends with the person that let me go, basically, and turned what one of my friends calls, sort of, you turn medicine into, or poison into medicine sort of thing, of switching around the situation. And and started my own business. And from there, immediately got pregnant, and then dealt with the whole just hardship of trying to, like, I used to equate my value with money. I was worth 6 figures in my, where in the business I was in before. I don't make that anymore, but I'm pregnant. But what value is that, right? Okay, now I have a baby and I'm making sure that baby lives, but what value is that? And I'm trying to figure out my business, but it's not bringing an income, so I have no value, basically. And it's this, it was really hard, and I felt really guilty because I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. and all of those emotions that so many of us have felt. And I started to finally figure it out. And I got a chance to work with somebody from a mastermind I was in to write a book that I'd always wanted to write. I was a journalism major in college. And that's where Boss Mom came. And it came as me saying, you know what? I don't believe that it's bad to be an entrepreneur and a parent at the same time. I think it's good. And I don't believe that we need to wait till our kids nap to teach them that doing things that we love and work doesn't have to be a negative word. I don't think those things need to be separated. I think when we separate them, that's when the guilt and the pain starts to happen. And so I wrote a book about it, and it went so well that we, when you're an entrepreneur, you fan the flame. We just let's do a podcast, and let's, start a group coaching program, and let's do live events. And so everything we can boss mom, we've now officially boss mommed.
I love that. Dana, I'm so glad we're talking today, because just a few weeks ago, one of my clients and I were having that conversation. Her daughter is a year old, and she was up against having a hard time spending money, because she's like, I haven't earned much money in the past year because I'm only working part-time. I'm not really contributing to the household anymore. And we really got to the core of value and, and overall, we won't get into it, but let's face it, we're in a culture that doesn't highly value moms currently, or really recognizes what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. And I feel like there's an article I've read somewhere out there that I'm not going to be able to reference appropriately. But I remember it seeing somewhere that it, there's the cost of $100,000 to raise a kid, is about what it is. And I remember reading it somewhere and being like, well, but isn't it, I mean, what is it? What's the value of me as a parent?
Yes.
If I look to put both my kids in daycare is a mortgage payment here in San Diego.
Yep.
I mean, it's probably a mortgage payment anywhere cause cost of living of whatever it costs for you to own your house is what it costs to send your kids to school. Yeah. So it was so funny because I had to, in my business, my husband and I agreed I have to make enough to at least put the kids in daycare. And I actually had another woman entrepreneur who does sort of financial planning. She came back and she's like, that is not allowed. That is not allowed. Some of what he makes goes into daycare too. The validity of your business should not rely on your ability to pay to put kids in daycare. That's a team effort. And it was so interesting to open my eyes and start having that discussion with my husband about, no, wait, that's not fair. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this, that it shouldn't be on my shoulders, that I don't get to have a business unless my business can afford this. And it just brings up all these aspects of the dynamics of one person being an entrepreneur and another person being in a corporate setting, and the value of the mom versus the dad, and who takes off when the kids get sick. And all of these things are you think you're just starting a business, but once you become a parent, there's so many other working parts of how we figure out how to be a family. It's mind blowing about all the little details that happen and how much we as moms take on ourselves, without even thinking about it. It's I've got to get the kids to school, and I have to manage their lunches, and I have to wash the dishes, and I have to do all these things. But 9 times out of 10, I found I was never asking my husband to do them. Mm-hmm. I was just assuming it was my role. I had to do it because I was home. It needed to happen. And when I finally stepped up and I was like, that whole house cleaning thing that I'm terrible at anyway. I don't want to do that anymore. What do we need to what needs to happen to either have you kick in? And you'd be like, oh, well, I actually like doing laundry. I'll do the laundry. But I don't like doing these things. Let's set some financial goals so we can bring somebody in. And I just find as moms, we're not having that conversation with the people on our team or in our family because we think we have to do it. And then we get angry that they don't contribute, but we're not asking.
Right. Well, the thing is we're all a part of the same paradigm. We're all a part of the same culture. The same assumptions that you make about yourself, your husband probably assumed too. And it's not that he's a bad guy because he was assuming, well, you would just do all these things. It's the way we've kind of been programmed growing up. But it takes people like your financial advisor and other people who get us to stop and be like, wait a minute, hold on. Why are you doing that? Why are you making that decision? Or why are you looking at it this way? That kind of opens our eyes up to be like, oh yeah, why am I doing that? That is so crazy. But it's all those little things, like it's the programming, like I described it. It's the programming that's running behind the monitor that you can't see until somebody says this is what's causing that. And you're like, oh, but it's so, yeah. Oh, Dana, we could have whole conversations on this, but I want to respect your time. So, and what I got from your story, what I really love is like, you essentially, from the time you were a child, growing up, and then through your corporate jobs, you were actually in training to be an entrepreneur, because you talked about having all the skills it really takes to be successful in business, where you fix things that are broken, you problem solve, you turn the poison into medicine. I mean, if you can do that anywhere in your life, you can do that as an entrepreneur, because that's what it's all about. And, you absolutely have it going on right now. I love the conversation we had before we hit record, and you really summed it up for everybody where, you've now boss mommed everything. You're like, it is all over the place. Like, so confidence wise, you're doing great. Life is good. But I always, at this point, I always like to kind of connect with the audience, because on something we can all relate to. And it's those moments when we doubt ourselves, or we don't realize really how capable and high valued we are. So Dana, if you could share with us a time in your life when you had one of those playing small moments, share with us the story and then the lessons you've learned from it.
Yeah, which it's so funny you mention it, because it's like every couple weeks I have an email in my sort of nurture sequence to people that come into my community, and it's I think the title is like, I'm a hot mess too. Like, you're not alone. Be like, hey, it doesn't matter where you are in your business, I'm a hot mess at least several times a month, and depending on what's happening, it could be weekly. I cry in the bathroom, with the lights out while nobody's watching, or in the shower so you can't tell I'm crying. That totally happens. Like, and I embrace it. Like, I embrace those things because I think it's important. Like, we're emotional creatures. So I say embrace your hot mess-ness, because what it does is it creates clarity for you. It's in that space of despair. I mean, that's why all artists, say that it's like they almost like self-inflict despair on themselves, because in those moments of questioning comes clarity. And that happens all the time. So gosh, I mean, I don't even think we have time to go through all the times that I have questioned myself or screwed up and had to figure out what on earth I'm doing. I mean, I remember I had just launched my academy, and it was this big win that was like, oh my goodness, I had gotten 10 people into this academy. It's the first time I'd ever really gotten on the phone and sold people into a high priced program. And I was so excited. And then I was looking at all my expenses, and like most entrepreneurs do, and I was going, holy moly, I'm still spending just as much as I'm making. Like, I'm really not making a ton of money, even though I'm making a ton, but I'm not keeping a lot of it. And so it was this space where I was like, well, what do I do? Like, I can't sell this academy again for another 6 months, and I can't do these things. I'm stuck. And so I was in that space, like so many do, where we put all of this work into a launch, and then we just say, oh, well, now I've got to put all that effort to maintain it, but I have to figure out some other way to bring in money, because that wasn't enough. And I had hired a group coaching coach, like somebody who specializes in group coaching. And he said, well, reopen it up. And I said, well, I can't do that. Like, I already sold into it. And he's like, why? It's your program. It's your business. You can kind of do whatever you want, right? As long as you're delivering what the value that you promised to everybody, like, why wouldn't you be able to do that? And it was one of those moments where I had just assumed, because I had set something up the way I'd set it up, and then it wasn't exactly everything I wanted it to be, that it had to stay stagnant, that what we build had to stay stagnant. And it was this aha moment for me where I was like, oh my gosh, I quit my job so I could be the CEO of my business, and I'm now telling myself I can't make decisions, that's not allowed, that everything is set in stone. And it was this moment where I was like, nothing's set in stone. And I reopened the academy. We sold 30 more spots. And I basically set this space where I told everybody, this structure is going to change. It's going to change until it works so freaking well that everybody, that walks through the door is successful as soon as humanly possible. And until that happens, I'm reserving the right for us to morph and to move, because that's what life does. That's what business does. And everybody came back and they were like, I am so glad that you're doing that, because that means you're going to listen to us. We're going to change things as they go. You're going to ask us questions. We're going to be a part of this. And I'm still willing to pay you because I know you're giving all this value, but you're also going to move and flow as we need it. And so this spot where I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to keep it this way, and holy moly, how am I going to make more money to make this all work? That moment of going, oh yeah, I own my own business. I get to make whatever choices I want. And other people actually really supported that. That was a big moment for me that I think shifted the way my brain works to recognize how much I could grow this in a really thoughtful, purposeful way.
I love that. And what kept coming to my mind was the movie The Matrix, where when you're in the Matrix, the rules apply only if you believe them, right? Mm-hmm. The moment you stop believing the rules, then your mind expands and you're capable of doing greater things. And I think the reason why that movie was so successful is there's a part of our subconscious that goes, that's true. That's true. The rules only apply if we believe them. And you found yourself in a moment where you're like, oh yeah, I make the rules. Oh yeah.
I know, which by the way, if they ever invent a way for you to just download like knowing Taekwondo or like being amazing at math or how to build sales funnels, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sign me up. Now, Dana, if you could share with us at another time in your life, this one is a wake-up call. I mean, you had a wake-up call in your playing small moment, the whoa, these are my rules and I get to change them. But I'd love to hear another story. And for a lot of people, the wake-up call is instantaneous, oh my gosh. But for others, it's like the universe has to keep sending us messages until they get stronger and stronger. And then we're ready to make a move. But in either case, there's always a moment of action. So if you could share with us what led up to that moment and then the steps you took that led to your success.
Yeah. So there's actually a really big one that I think is something that I talk about. I've talked about it on Pat Flynn's, he did a roundup that was the one thing lesson you'd want to teach people. And what I did when I got out to start my own business is something other people did and still do today. They go, what am I passionate about? And so I thought, wow, I'm really passionate about mindful communication and how people connect. In corporate America, I was a director from a wellness perspective. We built behavior modification programming for large companies and municipalities. And so that's what I thought. I was like, I'm passionate about communication. I know how important good communication is. That's what I'm going to do. And so what I did is I tried to build this business that was working, but to be honest, was way more work and just hard. It did not come easy. And we were in Columbus, Ohio, and we moved out to San Diego because that's where I'm originally from Southern California, to be close to family once we had my son. And I went to this conference with one of my good friends, Kelsey Murphy. She runs the Whiskey and Work movement. And it was not a good conference, actually. And I say that importantly because I think people think you have to go to something where the whole thing from start to finish is life-changing to be life-changing. And it doesn't. It takes one moment, one statement, one thing. And this one man got up on stage, and honestly, I think it was such a blurry, oh my goodness, realization for me. I don't even remember his name, or I remember he was in the military and he was talking about being an entrepreneur after getting out of the military. And he just made this comment. He's like, as entrepreneurs, we're good at a lot of things, maybe not great, but we're good at a lot of things. And what we need to find is the one thing that we are amazing at, the gift that we have where it comes easy to us, that thing where people look at you and say, holy moly, how did you get that done in a quarter time? Or how did your brain think that way? Or how did you come up with that? I could never do that. And that's what we need to start our businesses on. That's what we need to center our businesses around, because that's where success happens. It happens quicker. It happens in less time. It's more valuable. It's easier to sell. And I just had this aha moment where I was like, oh man, I am totally pursuing my passion and I am not at all pursuing my gift. And so we actually left the conference early and we spent a whole day, and I wasn't really sure like what that gift was. And so we focused on my friend Kelsey and working on her business and figuring that out for her. And in the midst of it, as I was sort of working through all these different brainstorming ideas of ways she could put things together, and she stopped for a moment. She's like, Dana, oh my gosh, that's your gift, like strategy and brainstorming and ideas and pulling them together and just visually seeing how things could work. She's like, and the process, she's like, that's your gift. Like you need to be doing that. And so I went into the Savvy Business Owners Facebook group, which is where I'd been hanging out lately with Heather Crabtree. And I basically said, awesome. Hey, ladies, I just figured out what my gift was. I'm going to take 3 people and I'm going to help you do content strategy. Who's in? And within like 30 minutes, I had 10 women that were like, I want it. And I just started. So the action for me was just going in and giving away a little bit of my time to just test it out. Just go into a Facebook group and say, I'm looking for this particular thing, this kind of person to do this thing. This is what you're going to get. If you're interested, let me know. And you'll see the interest and you'll go in and talk to some of those people. And 2 out of the 3 people that I worked with ended up being paying clients after the fact. So it's a good way to get testimonials and move yourself forward. And I honestly have never looked back. Like what I recognized is I pursued my passion and not my gift. But when I recognized my gift and pursued that, I can infuse my passion into my gift, because mindful communication is infused in the way I run my business. It's infused in the topics I talk about on my podcast and in these podcasts. It's the way I live with my husband and with my friends and with my community. So my passion has been part of my gift and my business, but my gift is what makes me money. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier now that I recognize that. And that one bad conference was the aha moment that I think helped turn me into a 6-figure business within like 6 months.
Yeah, I definitely can see that, because people can get swept up by what we're passionate about. If you're really enthusiastic, I have a friend who gets really enthusiastic about golf. I have no interest in golf, but I love watching him talk about golf because he's so into it that his passion kind of sweeps me away. But when you display, I call them your superpowers. Like when you showcase your superpowers, that's what blows people's minds. Like you were saying, like people being like, how do you do that? And what made you think of that? And I wish I could do that. It's all the things that, other people aren't as good at. And they're more than happy to pay you to help them because they lack that skill. So yeah, that you want to double down on those for sure.
Yeah. And one last thing is if you pursue your passion, but you're not really that great at it, like it doesn't harness your gifts, it's going to burn you out of that passion. Like for instance, I love playing piano. I'm not so great at it. I didn't start learning until I was like 10. I'm not bad. I can play some tunes, but I'm not a great pianist. If I had taken that passion and pursued being a pianist for all of my life, I would be broke and nobody would hire me. And that's not because I'm not passionate enough, but because passion and gifts have to go together in order for you to make money. Yeah. And so that idea that I would have gotten burnt out, like I love to cook, but I would never become a chef because I love to cook for me. And I love how that makes me feel, but it's not part of my gift. And so if I went and pursued that, I would get burnt out and then I would hate cooking. And so we also have to be careful that what we pursue harnesses our gifts so that we don't get burnt out on the things that we love and care about, but that it gives us the resources and the space to be able to do the things that we're passionate about, like contributing to purpose-driven businesses and organizations and giving us the time and the resources to go travel the way we want or cook more or take piano lessons or whatever those are. Like harnessing our gift gives us that space, but if we only focus on our passions, we're going to get burnt out real quick and end up not having any finances to show for it.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that. Like your passions and your gift have to be combined in order to make money. Boom. Mm-hmm. Right there.
And that's what it comes down to. If you're not making money in your business, it's a hobby. So, right. We got to get serious about it. Like if you love what you do and you pour your heart into it, but you can't bring yourself to ask anybody to pay you, then you don't run a business. And that's a hard truth that we all have to face. Like if you want to be a business owner, you're going to have to muster up the courage to ask people to pay you for your value. And if you have a hard time doing that, then get on the phone with somebody who is a money mindset coach like Tanya Rainier, or something like that, because you got to get past it. Like people have to stop thinking of money as this all encompassing thing. It's not. It's a way to barter. you're giving them some value and they're giving you value back, which happens to be money. And in some ways in business, maybe that's a service. Maybe you're exchanging services and that's the exact same thing. And once you stop giving money that power, you're going to make a whole lot more of it.
Amen. And Dana, what I always want everyone to get is there is no one way to lead. I think sometimes as women, men can fall into this too, but I see it a lot with women where we can get tripped up because we look at somebody who is successful and that we admire, and we try to model how ourselves after that person. We look at how they lead and we try to do the exact same thing. But that doesn't always work because our personalities are different. Like we were just talking about, our superpowers, those unique skills that we have might be different. Our experience is different from other people. So while there's fundamentals to leadership, the nuances are distinct and, pretty much are personal to each individual. So Dana, how would you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, so I lead by letting other people lead. That may sound odd, but
that's great.
I've just started to realize this, but since I come from a space of corporate wellness where part of my job was to go into big companies and assess the culture of their business and say, how can you get your employees to care more? How can we increase productivity and lower absenteeism? Like, how can we get people to show up and actually work for you 110% and love you and, and stay with you, and all those things. And I realized that was such a valuable space for me to be in, because now I recognize that the best way for me to grow my business and to lead in my community is by helping other people recognize their gifts and raise them up within the organization. So I'm constantly going to my team and saying, awesome, what do you love about what you do and what do you not love? Do we need to bring somebody else on to do that other thing? Because there's somebody out there that loves to do that. I just hired somebody who does like when people violate our trademark for Boss Mom, because a lot of people just don't realize that I actually own the registered trademark for it. We have to go out and tell them you can't use it. I've got to protect my trademark. I hate doing it. Everybody on my team hates doing it. It happens there's somebody out there who loves to do that. And I hired her. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome because I don't want to have somebody on my team doing it and dreading that part of their job. So part of me leading is asking my team, what do you want to do? What are you good at? I also ask my team, nobody is my full-time employee as of right now. So they all have their own businesses. And so I asked them, at the end of 2016, I would like to see your price increase for 2017. I want to know what that looks like so I can make sure I'm budgeting for that accordingly and we can have those discussions. And I had several people on my team go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And I said, well, you need to start thinking of that because I'm not going to just give you a raise. Like, you got to learn to ask for this stuff. And so part of leading is forcing other people to really think about where their value is and own that value. And I can't give it to them. And we had talked before we got on about, delegating, and sometimes it's hard to delegate. But when you allow people to show you how awesome they are, you'd be amazed at the ideas they come up with that you didn't even think of. Like, we think of, I'm going to bring on this VA and I have to record how to do this process and that kind of thing. But it's so much more than that. The next time you want somebody to manage your podcast process, just turn on your recorder. I use Camtasia, turn it on, record live, whatever it is that you're doing. Like, this is how I put my stuff in Libsyn and this is how I do my show notes. Take that, hand it to the person that you want to hire and have them turn it into an actual process document so they can own some of that, and then ask them, is there any way I can improve on this? Is there any way that it could be better? And you're testing out their skill by allowing them to own more. And the more that you allow people to own of what they do and how they contribute and how they grow, the more they will show you how amazing they are. And my team is awesome. And they do things that I can't do. And they do things that raise my business up and promote my business in ways that I wouldn't even think of. And I think that's because I allow them to lead in their own way. And we do that in the community too. We have ambassadors. There's so many other roles in the community of people that we ask for people to lead. I don't consider myself to be the all encompassing power of the Boss Mom brand at all. I'm just one part of it. that goes out and does my part within the role. So I would be one of those people if I ever have a brick and mortar business where I would have no office and I would be in the center with all my people. Because if I can't hear what people need and what's working and what's not working, I can't fix it. And you can't listen from behind a closed door. And so that is how I lead.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And I dive a little deeper into it because the next question I wanted to ask you was, what is one thing you're working on right now in your business that you're really excited about and want to share with us? Because I think now we're going to get a full picture of what's going on in your world.
Yeah. So the fact that when we're recording this, I'm having my Boss Mom retreat, which is my first 100-person live event. So I'm deep in that. And I'm so excited because there's so much buzz about everybody coming together. And that's been it's like planning a wedding for your business. It's been amazing. But what I'm actually wanted to mention that I'm just as excited about, but I think is more relevant to everybody that's listening is we just pre-launched I have a new course called the Raising Your Business program. And what's awesome about it is, content creation is one of my specialties. That's part of what I did and part of what my background is. And so I have over 6,000 students, over, a myriad of courses on different platforms. And I launched the Boss Mom Academy, which is my group coaching program, last February of last year. And I took the whole year, basically, to go through that program and all the content and things we created and all the discussions we had and listening to everybody and what their needs were. I took that whole time before I came up with the thing that was going to be the program that I'm going to evergreen and hopefully will be my $1 million, course over the next year or two. And the important part of why I'm so excited about that is to me, I could have just taken, you know what, we need to know about, your purpose and your why, and you need to know about funnels and you need to know about podcasting and, all of these different things. But what I realized over the last year was that's not where the value lies. Those are just the things. And my dad always said information isn't knowledge. The problem that I think most entrepreneurs have is translating the ridiculous amount of information and free information that people throw at us and understanding what to do with it. And the big thing for me is in what order. Because I see people go out and they buy $1,000 program on how to run a webinar and they have nothing to sell. Well, it's really hard to have a 6-figure or a 5-figure webinar without anything to sell. That's why Amy Porterfield then came out with a course on how to create courses, because she was like, oh, wait, I probably need to give them something, like teach them how to actually make a thing that they can sell on the webinar in order for webinars to be successful. So I find order is the big thing. So the Raising Your Business program, what I love about it is I spent the time to figure out how it was really going to work, because I knew I wanted to be able to put money and resources into making it great. And I took that time and then realized, awesome, this 10-point, the webinar that we have that's going to sell into it that we've done on our pre-launch is your 10-point path to raising a successful business. So I've got my terms and the things that are really like clear to me in our brand, but it's also about, in the webinar, it doesn't just say the things you need to do. It talks about why it has to be in this order and what happens if you skip it, or that you try and do it too soon. Mm-hmm. And the women that are coming in, we had a really successful pre-launch, and the women that are coming in are going, oh my goodness, I was doing number 6 and I've never done number 3. Like, I'm now seeing why number 6, I poured all this money and resources into it and it didn't work. It's because I hadn't done these steps beforehand to really make sure things are working in my business. And you hear a lot of people go, well, you need a brand and you need these things, but I feel like nobody out there was really like putting these things together in a course. We do them in our group coaching programs because you just naturally bring people through that process. But so I'm super excited because we're going to launch it officially in February. And then I'm going to work to make it automated and grow that. And, all the hashtag, all the things, mm-hmm. which is, I didn't realize is a hashtag, but it's a hashtag. And, and I'm super pumped about that because I spent the time to really recognize what's the thing going to be. And now I feel so incredibly confident about pouring the money I need to now take the videos I did and I'm going to now do them professionally, because if this is going to be my thing and I'm confident that it is, then I'm willing to put the money in to make it amazing. And before, if I would have tried to do something before, I would have poured that money in and inevitably had to redo it. And that's why for me, course creation and that kind of thing is like step number 8 or 9. And there are tons of other ways you can bring in income before that. But it's, so I'm really excited about it. I'm thinking this is going to be, my program. my thing.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you really capturing, like, it takes iteration. So for people, like, this can be the downfall for business owners too, where they look at somebody who's 5 to 10 years ahead of themselves and ask the question, why am I not there already? Well, that person has been iterating and evolving and getting feedback, working with clients, redoing, kind of like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat for a long time. So, when you're starting a business and, you're starting to do some of these things, you got to give yourself some time and be okay that it will take some time. And Dana, now I'm going to propel us right into the quick leadership roundup. So if you could, in one sentence, what is one practice you have that helps to make you a better leader?
I assess every single day. Like, I assess my priorities every single day. I don't just look at the tasks that I need to do. I look at what am I trying to achieve. I have a business plan vision board, and I assess every single day because it's really easy to fall off the priority path and chase that shiny object. And so reassessing every single day helps give me the focus I need to be really confident about the things I say no to and the things I say yes to.
What advice would you give your younger self?
You are totally not an island, and I don't care if you can make images in Canva, hire somebody to do it. It's like I knew Photoshop and all these things, and I was like, well, I'll just do them all myself because I can. And now that I've bring in support, like you're actually helping move the economy forward by giving other people jobs, and you are going to get there so much faster. So especially from imagery and branding perspective, like don't be an island. You go out and find people and barter if you need to, because doing everything yourself will just end in burnout and tears and colors that don't match.
Share with us a success quote or a mantra and why it has meaning for you.
Yeah, so I love this one because I really actually thought a lot about this one. And I think that one that means the most for me is it says a man should, his reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? It's by Robert Browning. And only I like to take the man part out because it applies to us women too. But I love it because it is the ultimate entrepreneurial quote. Whether you believe in heaven or not, whatever you say is out there. We should always reach past what we think we can handle, what we think we can grab. We should always look past what we think we can do and recognize that until we reach, we don't recognize how much we can do. If we always stay in that comfortable place where it seems like it's doable, then you're never going to achieve what you can potentially achieve. It's just like working out. Like until you push yourself so hard that you can't be pushed any farther, you only then do you know what your true limits are. And when we live in the space that we can always reach for, then you're playing small.
And lastly, Dana, what is the best way for this community to connect with you?
Yeah, so boss-mom.com is our space. You can get everything from there. Our Facebook group is, oh my gosh, we got almost 1,000 people last week into our Facebook group. It's like kind of crazy, the growth there. But you can get to it all from our website. So that makes it super easy. And if for all of your people out there that are the women that time management and project management and figuring out like your million items on your checklist, I have a free Trello training that we've had thousands of people go through that is super, super helpful. Takes you behind the scenes of how I run my business through Trello, which is a free online tool. And that's just boss-mom.com/Trello.
I love that. And for those of you who are on the run, don't sweat it. You can find all the links and resources Dana shared in this episode at womentakingthelead.com. And Dana, thank you so much for taking the time to inspire and enlighten us. We are all better for having met you.
Oh, thank you. I love that this is part of my job, to hang out with cool people like you.
All right, ladies, I'm going to talk straight because I know you ambitious, high-achieving entrepreneurial women appreciate that. I know some of you are struggling and you find yourself saying, I know what to do to achieve my goal, I'm just not doing it. And you're struggling with having the time, energy, or willpower to move forward in your business or career. You may even be thinking you've developed adult ADD. I can help you with that, and you'll soon be surprised by how much you are able to get accomplished. No more going it alone, suffering silently while another year goes by. send me an email at Jodi, Jodi, at womentakingthelead.com, and let's get the conversation started. Thank you all for joining me on Women Taking the Lead. And to strengthen you on your own leadership journey, I'd like to send you off with a quote from Marianne Williamson, so here goes. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Again, thank you for joining me, and here's to your success.